So yeah, I was caught using the N word. And I don't think I can agree to never use the N word. The word I'm talking about, nigger. Are you offended yet? I said it. Yeah, it can be a really offensive word. It carries a lot of negative connotations from the past, and it's not something that we would normally want to be using very much. And in normal circumstances, I wouldn't use the word, yeah. It's not like I go around using racist terminology on a daily basis. And I generally try to speak in a way that's fairly gentle. I don't swear except at the most extreme circumstances. But that's the point. In extreme circumstances, in particular cases, there are places where words are appropriate. So swearing is something that I consider really bad taste and really ugly and wouldn't do generally. But it's known that swearing when you're in pain actually reduces your experience of the pain, increases your pain tolerance. It's useful. It's a part of human psychology that does good things. And in the same way, the N word maybe has a certain place in some circumstances. So the thing that happened to me is that I was talking about the old children's rhyme, "Eeny, meeny, miny, mo." These days they say catch a tiger by the toe. And I've been tracing this over my lifetime, watching the children and the way that the words change. So it used to be catch a tigger by the toe. Not so long ago, when I was a kid, it was catch a knicker by the toe, which I think is really funny. We didn't know what a nigger was. We've never heard the word, and so a knicker was the closest thing that we were able to use. And so here is the first thing about this word, is that it's very offensive in a situation where people are using it and know it, using it in an offensive way. In a culture where we don't even know what the word is it truly an offensive word? In Portuguese, there's a word for a knife, faca, which sounds very rude to the English speakers. But is it rude to use it in Portuguese? No, of course not. Similarly, there's another word that sounds very rude to the Portuguese. The word fodder, like the things that you feed to the animals. You feed the animals fodder, yeah? It sounds like something like fucking in Portuguese. So it's a word that in that context would be very inappropriate. In another context, means something completely different, perhaps doesn't have any meaning at all. So are we really trying to remove this word from all contexts, even when it kind of doesn't matter? First question. Second question, how does this affect us? So what I was doing was quoting cultural history. Where do we come from? Here's what people used to say, and this is what they used to express themselves. And this cultural history is imbued in us. It's where we have come from, it's our roots. And if we don't acknowledge and work with and understand our cultural history, then it leaves us rootless, which is, from a rational perspective, may seem not a very big issue, but actually we are cultural beings. Our whole outlook on the world, our whole emotional nature is built on a foundation of culture. And without culture, people are very unhappy. Culture is what allows us to live well in this world. It's all of the education about life that you don't get through through logic, that you get through experience of the people around you. You don't learn how to be a good person and have good relationships by logic. You learn it by hanging around with people who know how to be good people and have good relationships and express, and this is expressed in the culture. So throwing away aspects of our culture because of a word that we are uncomfortable with is very dubious. It's very doubtful whether this is a good thing. In fact, it could be a very dangerous thing, leaving us without our cultural roots and therefore open to all kinds of confusion, depression, stresses, and in fact becoming less good people, because although we might from a logical perspective try to do good, we do not understand the deeper soulful aspects of connecting with people, connecting with our culture, what it takes to be a truly soulful human being. So consider some of the classics of literature, like Huckleberry Finn. Huckleberry Finn uses the word nigger some 200 times or more. It uses it in some really shocking contexts. There's a context where he reports that to his mother that they had an accident, and she asks him if anyone was hurt, and he said no, but a nigger died. And she says, well, that's lucky, no one was hurt, or something to that kind of style, something along those lines. And you know, how shocking is that? Very shocking. But the point is that it's supposed to be shocking. And to take this word out in a context where it's supposed to be shocking is preventing us from really communicating the things that need to be communicated. And so, yes, we shouldn't really be using this word much. But to completely cut it out of our vocabulary and never use it, even in the cases where it is appropriate and makes an important message, that is cutting ourselves off at the knees. That is removing our foundation for true communication, artistic expression. That is removing ourselves from our souls, or at least our soul of the collective. Our personal individual soul maybe can manage it, but this collective consciousness of the culture, it's a really important thing. So there's a lot of articles that you can find on the internet about this, talking both sides and probably some other sides as well, other contexts. There are people talking about how damaging it is to a culture to really be trying to control every expression, and how company cultures that are really trying to do this, they call them politically correct language, trying to be inoffensive, they find that people are unable to communicate with themselves anymore, with each other anymore, that the communication is so stifled by this attempt to say the right thing that's inoffensive, that then they are actually not able to deal with the issues. And when some kind of issue of racism comes up, they actually can't talk about it and can't deal with it. And so there ends up being more racism, not less. Really important issue. Jordan Peterson talks a lot about this issue, and how when you regulate the way people express themselves, you make rules about it, what damage that does to our ability to express ourselves, and how if we are not going to be offensive, we can't really say anything important, because important things normally offend somebody. They offend people's sense of the way they believe things are. They change people's opinion, and in that way it is really shocking and can be offensive. So this not allowing any offensive language is one of the worst things that we can do to create true communication and respect between people? What if we took another direction? Instead of removing all of the offensive language, what if we tried to speak to each other respectfully and to understand the inner message behind, not to take on the offensive message, but to take on the message of love and connection that's always there. People are always looking for some kind of love and connection, some kind of help with their own personal issues. In nonviolent communication, you call this giraffe ears rather than jackal ears. You listen with your giraffe ears, meaning like your ears are, your head is up high above the issues and you can look down and see the whole pattern instead of being stuck inside it, which they call the jackal ears, which the jackal attacks as soon as it can. So rather than feeling like we're under attack and getting offended, how about we try to understand where the person's really coming from and create some kind of connection? How about we try to speak in a respectful way and listen and understand where the other person's coming from? Try to work together in some way. Not make rules. The rules actually prevent us from true, honest, deep connection. True, honest, deep connection comes from taking away the rules and being natural, being who we are, and discovering how that connection works, not forcing it.